Just a Job is the podcast for the modern woman to redefine what success looks like. We highlight real women and their real stories. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Just a Job with Ellen and Sarah. This is it's our one-on-one. Happy Monday. But also it is a very important one-on-one. Sarah, tell us why.
Oh, well, first, it's our 51st episode. It feels odd that we're ending on an odd number, but yes, you did hear the word ending. We are wrapping up season 1, our first full year of Just a Job. If you paid attention last week, or listened last week rather, we had our 50th episode, and that's a huge moment in time. But I think an even better one is just looking back at the past year. And what a wild ride, Ellen.
I can't believe it's been a year.
I know.
So much time, but so little time.
Yeah.
It's like, what is the concept of time? I mean, it's so cool to be able to see all the work that we've done. And then I keep seeing all these stats of like, if you make it past the first 3 episodes of a podcast, like 20 episodes of a podcast, you're automatically in this like specific echelon. And I'm like, girl, 51 episodes a year in, like we did it. We made it. I'm so excited.
I know. I feel wrong for not having some sort of like beverage to like cheers you with. I have like a half cold cup of coffee.
Yeah, like my coffee is like okay, but virtually cheers. Yay!
Cheers, girly. Yay.
So
go ahead.
Today we're going to talk about some of our favorite things over the past year, learnings, and then we're also going to give updates on like career-wise, a little reflection of our past year, because this time last year, our first episode was the story of us, of everything career-wise to date. And while we've kind of, sprinkled in updates throughout the year, again, the end of the year as we're reflecting on 2024, it's like, oh my God, both of us have had serious ups and downs in our careers this past year. And we kind of wanted to talk about what those were, how we got to where we are now, and then what's in the future. So a fun episode, a reflective episode, but also celebratory. So Sarah, I love when we get to ask each other questions and interview each other. It's so much fun.
I'm like nervous.
I know. But okay, talk to me about like we'll do peaks and pits specifically to the podcast over the past year. Hit us.
Let's start with pits. This has been a conversation that we've had a lot recently, and it's, I think, just the juggling of time and like allocating resources. The whole reason that we started this podcast is because we felt like this was a set of conversations that needed to be had, but also too was just like genuine interest to us. And we love talking with people. Obviously, we've talked with like 40 some odd women, and learning about people, I think, is like one of the greatest things that you can do in your life, because there's so many stories, so many tracks, but specifically for women in careers, there's just not a lot of conversations, or they're had in silos. And so taking that like genuine interest in it, but also too knowing that there's only so many hours in the day, and we wish that we could do a million and some odd things, but like Ellen and I have jobs, and we have husbands and dogs and shopping to be had. No, just kidding. So it's just about like fitting in the podcast, and also to like level setting expectations. So there's not one specific pit. I think it's just the idea that we want to do more, but there's only so much time, and also to just the idea of fitting this in and making it what we want. So the peak, I'd say I have 2 peaks. I should have sandwiched this. The one peak is, first off, sharing time with you, Ellen, because like I don't think we've ever talked as much in our past 7 years of being friends. And so I'm immediately like, I get to talk with Ellen at least once a week, if not a couple of times a week. And so I think that that's been really, really incredible. And then the second too, just that thread of conversation, talking with women, being able to hear their stories. Like growing up in a small town, this wasn't a topic that a lot of people talked about. It was surrounded by a lot of women that, pursued staying at home over a career, which again, amazing. But because I didn't have access to those conversations, there's a lot of my life that felt like I didn't necessarily know what I was doing, or what options were out there, what's okay, what's not okay. And so to think that we're able to have these conversations, not only with the women and be able to share their stories, but also to know that there's like people listening to this and that hopefully there's some sort of exposure that's happening. So I would say that those are my pits, my peaks. I feel like it's always changing. So that's what first comes to mind. What about you, Ellen? I want to hear yours.
Ooh, okay. I think I will share a pit with you because like not being able to have the time to put into this sometimes when all I want to do is put my
Mm-hmm.
time into the podcast has been like it's like whiplash almost like
Totally.
because at the end of the day, like my day job has to come first. Like it's putting food on my
Mm-hmm.
table. The meetings come first sometime or they do, period. And so when this has to fall to the side because of other things, that like just is it's such a bummer because I'm like, ugh, you know, what could it be if we could put the thousand like all the time into it, but I can't think like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still proud of the time and the dedication that we've put into this, regardless of all of the other things going on. But I share the pit with you in the time aspect of it all because I guess to put a positive spin on it though, it has shifted my perspective on my time
Mm-hmm.
of how I can use it best and how I also like so struggle asking for help of like asking you or even like Tim or hey, I can't do this today or please help me
Yeah.
with this. Like it's helped me in that way. So, a little bit of silver lining there in a way. And the peak for me, I would say is like meeting women that I would have never crossed paths with
Mm-hmm.
in my like regular job. And I love the networking aspect has been so incredible, but it's also so inspiring. Like
Mm-hmm.
there has been multiple times where I have left interviews meeting women that I'm like, "Oh my god, I can go do this, this, this and this," or she did this, that how could I implement something like that into my own life to be able to better my career, my relationships, anything. And I think that again, I wouldn't have had access to the women, the conversations, if we didn't build something like this. And that for me has been just the coolest thing. And I think maybe like a subsection to that peak is having people just react positively to
Mm-hmm.
it, whether they recommend a guest for us or they like a post or they bring it up in a conversation of, hey, how's the podcast going? It's like, it's such a labor of love that like whenever anyone asks about it, I'm like, that's so nice. you know? And it just like, oh my God, it makes me so happy when people ask about it or care enough or
Mm-hmm.
engage and, are interested. So I
Totally.
guess those are kind of two peaks, but whatever.
See, we both have
um,
so many peaks. No,
I
I
know.
I 100% agree because it's the idea of like, would we have ever met these people?
No.
Probably not. And that's
Maybe,
so
but
crazy to think about.
yeah.
And that's also too like a really exciting thing for the future looking forward. Like how many people have we never come into contact that we're going to get to spend at least an hour with them
Yeah.
and hear their story. I think
It
that's so
really is
cool.
so cool. And
Yeah,
obviously the friend time has been like so nice.
goes
Like
without saying. Yeah.
also with like I'm kind of speaking for you at this point, so sorry, but with both of us moving and going through those types of change, like physically moving those kinds of changes, new jobs, friends, like all of that, and to have this be like a steady force, I've
Mhm.
really appreciated. And then, like, obviously, I always tell people that I'm like, well, yeah, I get to have friend time, so that's why I do it.
I get to go with my girl every week.
Yes. Honestly, I think you're like my number two most talked to contact in my phone, besides like my mom or Tim.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Mhm. Oh my gosh.
Um, okay, warm fuzzies all around. But looking back on this past year and our career journeys have been like, again,
Comical?
like whiplash. I think that's a good like theme for this.
Yeah.
It's there's been a lot of ups and downs. Again, we've kept people updated kind of like, throughout the process, but take us through a summary of this past year and your career development. You You quit jobs, you started new jobs, you grew, you had 60-hour work weeks. Like, talk to us about what this past year has been, Sarah.
I think creating this podcast came at the perfect time because,
Yeah.
for reference, October of last year is when I made like a pretty dramatic shift of having the 9 to 5 versus having two 20-hour clients. And that was really new for me and carried that same role. So I had one client that I was working predominantly in the mornings, and then another client I was working predominantly in the afternoon. So I think a pretty good routine. It was a full 40-hour plus week, had the podcast, like very much in a steady state. And then in April, one of the clients decided that they no longer needed my service. And it was basically like, okay, effective next week, like we don't need you. And so I was like, oh God, okay, well, I still have this one client. I can continue to work with them for 20 hours a week. Do I pick up another client or do I go back and try to find a full-time job? And after like sitting with it for a second, I also too had this fear. I remember because you had just come out of the like 4 month journey
Yeah.
of trying to find a job. I had another close friend that was in month 3 of finding a job in a similar field. And so I think I was very much holding on to this like idea of fear of not having a job, that I was like, first thing that heads my way, I'll take it. And then if I don't like it, that's fine. And so that job came around literally as I was telling myself like, oh, maybe this will be a chance where I could just work 20 hours a week and find out what I want to do with my life. Had a phone call interview with a recruiter, and then a week later they were like, you have this job. And I was like, I don't want it. I don't want it.
Are you sure?
It's like,
Me?
no, please, no.
Yeah.
So I switched and I started working for a really big bank in at the beginning of May. And I lasted all of 8 weeks there because, again, I went into it with the idea of I'm going to continue to apply. I'm not going to say no to any opportunity. I'll have this steady state. I'll learn what I can in the time that I have. But if something comes along that excites me, like I will drop it, and that's fine. And I was still doing the 40 hours a week full time with this company. And then I shortened my hours with my other client to about 10 to 15 hours a week. So this is when that kind of like turmoil started to kick in, I would say, of like, oh, this is what it feels like to work a lot, like not having balance, plus adding in a commute. I was commuting 3 days a week. And so that's over the summer, I feel like is when things kind of started to shift for me. So 8 weeks in, I ended up getting an opportunity to work with a company based out of Dallas, LTK. And again, contract role, 40 hours a week, work from home. And so was continuing to do that while also working with the client on the side. And so again, really hitting that like turmoil button, but hitting it hard. So been incredibly busy, obviously very fortunate to like work from home and be able to find a sense of balance because of that. But yeah, Ellen's been on the side of what am I doing? This is so much work. Like, how am I going to make this work? And I think that's the steady thing for me in all of this, like obviously having the podcast, but this year has been such a shift in my mentality. And again, it's really difficult in the moment, but when I look at it, I'm like, it really is just a job. And being able to have that distinction and that separation, and almost like it removes this like emotional baggage that you sometimes hold on to, especially as women, that it's like, this job is my entire being. I'm going to give my everything to it. And it's like, I could be gone next week. So like,
Yeah.
what truly does it matter? How much work can I put in to get the job done, but not completely burn myself out? So that's the journey. It's been a lot. I've learned a lot. I'm sure that this next year will also look somewhat similar, of kind of being a bit of unsteadiness. But if I've learned anything from our guests on the podcast, like shit works itself out, right?
Yeah.
Like it's never this really beautiful journey. In the moment, it doesn't seem like it makes any sense. But I think looking at the past year, a lot of stuff has made sense to me. So we'll see what 2025 carries. It has in store for me, but that was 2024 from a career perspective. And
But you did it.
whoa.
I mean, like, that is a hell of, what is that, 4? different companies. Like,
Yeah.
damn girl, you did that.
And you know what's funny is on my vision board, I put 5 contracts, which technically there was one other client in there that I didn't mention because it was very short term. So I hit my goal of having 5 contracts, whether I
Oh
liked
my
it or not.
God.
But yeah, it's been interesting, that's for sure. But I mean, bumpy is not just the case for me. Ellen, take us through your your journey.
Okay, I'll start at October too.
Yeah.
So,
Pivotal moments for both of us.
oh my God.
Yeah.
So I'm going to actually go a little bit further back than that now that I say that. Probably like June, maybe even May of 2023. I was not, I'll say, stable
Mm-hmm.
with what my current job was. There were rounds of layoffs. There were talks of the company closing. There were talks of, I mean, it was ever changing of what the company's next step was going to be. And so I was going through this internal turmoil of, do I stay? Do I go? If I stay, do I even try? Does it matter?
Mm-hmm.
Do I hang on to the end? Because there were so many different scenarios I walked myself through of what could I do. And so from then, I mean, this is a solid 6 months of consistent churn, constant turnover, ever changing priorities and projects. And come the end of the year, we launched the podcast, which was, again, phenomenal timing, selfishly. And they were going to execute a final round of layoffs and they offered severance packages. And I was like, get me out of here. I have had enough. I've
Mm-hmm.
reached my end of growth here. I cannot like mentally deal with me not feeling like I have job security anymore. Like I can't do that.
Yeah.
So I took a little bit of time off and I wish I could have enjoyed it more, but I couldn't have,
Mm-hmm.
even like reflecting on that time, because I mean, I needed to get a job. I mean, all the financial aspect, everything. I had a finite day of when severance package ran out. So I knew I had to get something. And so did some soul searching, resume updating, networking, all of that fun stuff, and really hit the ground running come January. And holy crap, I mean, I won't reiterate because I complained a lot on the podcast too. But that was a humbling experience to say
Mm-hmm.
the least. My confidence plummeted. I have never felt so lost in my career ever. I was like, what am I doing? I have no experience. There's no way I'm qualified to do any of the things that I'm applying for. And so it was just this very tumultuous time. And again, thank God for the podcast because I had something to keep me busy and like put energy into and towards. So again, very grateful for that. And then come end of March, I started interviewing for a contract role, landed it, and started working for Intuit at the beginning of April. It's an incredible opportunity. Sorry, incredible opportunity. I learned a lot going from like a startup pretty much to a what was it 17,000 employee company was
Mm-hmm.
like what?
Truly.
And I had never done contract work before, so there was like many layers of new that I was experiencing, and I really enjoyed like the transactional aspect of contracting to like layer the just a job mentality into it as well of I'm in for 40 hours a week and you don't want to pay me overtime. Here's what I can offer during that window. Otherwise, like close the laptop. I can't look at notifications on my phone. So I felt like for a while I had a really good, healthy, balanced relationship with work because it was because like legally I had to, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it wasn't even like a mentality I chose or like a support that the company put forward. It was legally on paper. I cannot do more than this per week unless like there was literally like 4 or 5 levels of approvals if I had to do additional work, which is nuts, but also it
Mhm.
protects me. So that was an interesting aspect. And then some things happened that I didn't necessarily love. There were changes, also another round of layoffs.
Mhm. A big one.
And right. And while I I learned a lot while being there. And I think I'm grateful for the opportunity. I met some really incredible people and people that I hope I stay connected with going forward as well. Um, I learned a lot about cybersecurity that I had never
Woo!
known before, which interesting, and
Mm-hmm.
AI and um, corporate attorneys, all of that fun stuff. So
Sexy,
while
Ellen.
it's not
How
glamorous
sexy.
and sexy, it's learning something. And
Mhm.
we talk a lot about too about like executive presence and how people speak and conduct themselves in meetings and conversations. And while I don't love going into the office, I enjoyed that aspect of watching like senior or like C-suite in a huge publicly traded company, being in the same room with those people and watching how they ask questions and present and just conduct themselves was really, really interesting. So good experience, wonderful opportunity. I had another opportunity come my way, which I haven't even started yet, which is crazy. But I'm going to be working for a mentor of mine, which is like I couldn't ask for anything more. I am so incredibly excited for this. Um, she posted on LinkedIn that she was hiring on her team, and I was like,
Help.
I would
Hi.
love to work for you. And kind of just went through the rounds of the interview process with the mindset of as long as this feels good and I am interested, I will keep going. And landed with an offer, and I start here in a week, which is crazy. Again, really excited, really looking forward to it. But it's finally going to be I will finally have job security. I mean, I look back at even like 5 years of corporate experience. I've been in the corporate world for 5 years and experienced 6 rounds of layoffs.
Nuts.
And to go from June of last year with all of the uncertainty in the company to exiting to going into contract work. Like, I have not had true job security in a year and a half.
Mhm.
And finally being able to have that, I am so excited to feel like grounded and secure and comfortable. So exciting things are coming for me and my career this year. And then plus more podcast things. I'm so grateful for the up and down while it sucked, especially like the job searching aspect was really not fun, but I'm grateful for that experience because it taught me a lot. And I think it taught me to like, I hate saying this, but like to play the game and to know
Mhm.
that, like you said, that just a job mentality of loyalty doesn't really get you anywhere anymore, and that's okay as long as like I know I can protect myself and be proactive with where I go next, what my strategy with work is, and kind of playing that game a little bit. So I'm like, how did I get here? I have no idea. But again, it's like you said, it works out and you make it work and you make it happen for yourself. Just yeah, I'm very happy to finally be able to feel secure in a job. I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most, on top of
Mhm.
working for a mentor. And then, oh, okay, with podcast stuff coming up. That's another. All right, we're pivoting. Thank you so much for listening to our career transitions over the year. Now I'm making a pivot. Talk to me about some things that you're excited about for the podcast in 2025.
Crazy. Well, first, back to your thing. I think it's important to recognize that a year is a really long time. I think sometimes we forget that a lot
I know.
can change. Even in 6 months, things can change. And so many times we're like, what's your 5-year goal? Well, I don't know. I could have 20 different jobs in those
Yeah,
5 years if they continue
literally.
this way. So, anyways, just want to close the book on that. For 2025, I think we're both really excited. I'm not going to speak too much about it, but like getting more in person speaking events. We had a blast with that this past year in September when we were able to speak at the Women on the Rise event. And so I feel like that's something that we're going to lean into a little bit more and potentially have an opportunity to speak to some college age women, which is a really, really exciting move for us because again, if we're talking about being lost, it is sure as heck when your age is 18 to 22. So
Yeah.
I am excited about that. Ellen, anything else that you're really excited about?
I'm ready to like take it to the next step. Like I feel, you know, confident in where we're at.
Totally.
We've got our feet under us. We know what we're doing. It took us a minute to get to a good like operating rhythm too.
Mhm,
I feel
mhm.
like we're still iterating and it feels good. And I'm excited to see kind of like, now that we've got a little gravitas under us, like where we can like launch to next. So I'm excited to see the growth like professionally for the two of us on where we can take the podcast because I think like there are so many different avenues that we can take this speaking engagements as one of them and there's so many other like fun ideas that we have. I think like seeing the ideas come into fruition and they like be physically tangible in front of us, I think is like what I'm really looking forward to. And I'm just so proud of us. Like I can't believe that we did this.
I know.
Like you keep saying a year is a long time, but I'm just like, where has the time gone? Like,
No, I still have a picture from when I should send it. We could post it on social. But
mhm.
when I got my microphone and just was like testing it out, Michael took a Polaroid of me and I'm like sitting on the carpet in our living room. I just gotten back from a run and came home to the package. So like I'm in my sports bra, it's all sweaty. I look disgusting, but I'm like this, like with my microphone. And I just like want to go back and be like, damn it, girl, you did it. You did it,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh my God. So crazy. And like, even I just remember like conversations, like telling my parents, like talking to
Mhm.
Tim, telling friends, and like that moment when it became like more real, like setting up the project in a sauna, like literally the first step,
Step by
everything.
step.
Right.
Mhm.
It's so crazy. And I'm like, I've upgraded to this fancy microphone stand.
Equipment you never thought you would ever
No
purchase.
little, and I have to like sometimes like in actual meetings, I have to make sure it's like truly off to the side because I'm like, I cannot answer questions about that in a work
You're like,
meeting.
I'm an opera singer. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
I
like,
know.
I can't, that's not going to
Yeah,
be out and visible for others to see. But
yeah.
even like I've had people at work find it and ask me about it, which is like, it's just, I'm so proud of us, Sarah. Oh my
Clearly, I
God.
feel like we could like ramble about this
I
because
know.
we're coming to it in the moment. But I think the biggest thing we can say is just thank you for listening
Yeah.
because Ellen and I would produce these episodes even if nobody listened, but to know that there are people that are listening and having some sort of aha moment from any of the episodes, like if they're even a fraction of what Ellen and I are having as we're speaking with these women, like I can't even imagine as you're looking back, like all 50 some odd episodes, like maybe this is your encouragement as we kind of take these next few weeks off, like go and find an episode and re-listen to it and see what you can find, what little nugget of information. But also too, like reach out to these women because these are people that like we didn't know, so why can't you know them yourself? So
Mhm.
take the moment, introduce yourself, listen to an episode, and just also take some like stillness in the next few weeks. It's crazy, it's the holidays, so we are going to come back even fresher than ever for season 2. I feel like I wish I could have one of those like little button where it's like wah, wah, where you like
The
press
rap
it.
horn. Yeah.
Yeah, just to wrap this all together. So thank you so much for listening. Ellen, any parting thoughts before we wrap it up?
Oh my God. What an incredible year. Thank you to the audience at large. Thank you everybody for listening and liking and engaging. Like truly it means the world to us. Um we've got season 2 on the horizon, which like is so weird saying out loud, but I'm so excited. Um and like let's go do another 51 episodes.
Let's do it, girl. All right, everybody, you enjoy your Monday. Have a wonderful, safe holidays. Thank you so, so much. And remember, it's literally just a job. We'll see you.